tutorial is going to show how to paint this cute macaron cookie stack. It's super easy. I'd recommend pausing here and tracing out the shape so you have it to start, and then just erase your pencil lines. I will link the supplies I'm using down below. And now let's get started mixing our colors. So you want to have three main colors. We've got pink and purple and green. So I'm just mixing the pink and then adding a ton of water to wash it out for the base color because we want a lighter version, and then just a more concentrated darker version for shadowing and some detail work. Doesn't have to be the exact same as my colors, just whatever color you envision your cookies being. And then for the filling, I went with similar colors and just added a tiny bit of orange tones to the pink, washed it out a bit more. For the purple I went darker, added some black, and still added a bunch of water, but just added a little bit of black to it. And then for the green, added some yellowish color and more water. So let's get started. You want to take your main color and swipe it over in the shape of the cookie. So use water. That's kind of the magic of watercolor, is don't be afraid to use water. Don't have just caked on dry color on there. Use a lot of water. And then when you go in with that darker color, so grab your darker version and dab it in the corner, you'll see because of all the water, they kind of start to swim together and you get that nice watercolor look going. So dry your brush a little bit and come in with a thirsty brush if you want to pick up some of that water if you have too much. And then do the same for the top. So swipe over your lighter base color, dab a little bit of the dark color in the corner, add some water, take some water away with a dry brush. Just play around with it. Don't pick at it too much to overwork the paper, but it's pretty simple. Then take your light color again and start doing just this little kind of spotting, jabbing, light jabbing, don't damage your brush, motion on the edge where the cookie bakes over. So we want to get a little bit of a textured look, which is why I'm not going for a straight line, which you could do. I'll show a version of that later as well, but this creates that textured look that we see in these cookies. And let it dry completely. You don't want it to all run together, so make sure it's absolutely completely dry here. And then go in with your darker color and start doing very light spots all over to get those more burnt, toastier looking bits. Okay, now that's just about done. So the next thing we're going to do is start off making the purple filling. So grab your filling color, draw in your purple. So I find it much easier to do the filling first. Make sure your green is completely dry before you start doing anything to that. But if you'll notice, when we add the green filling after, you have to really be careful not to smudge the work you've already done around it. And then do the same with the pink. So again, the filling color, that's that second color palette that we mixed. And make sure they're completely dry, and then start doing your cookie around it. So grab your light purple base color and just begin to swipe that shape for the bottom of the cookie. Take your dark purple and dab that in the corner. Let that blend together, and do the same for the top. Swipe over that base color, add the dark in the corner, and remember to use a decent amount of water. Don't soak your page, but enough to get some movement going. And I'll do the same for the pink, starting on the top. I don't want to touch the bottom because that purple cookie isn't dry yet, and if we put wet close to wet, they will just kind of suck the color into each other. So swipe your main color over, dab a little bit of that dark in the corner. I'm just waiting, testing to see if that purple is dry. If you're impatient like me, you can take a blow dryer to it or something else like that. Or just wait a little bit, it doesn't take long to dry. But just make sure it's completely dry before you go and paint anything close to it. So that is dry now. So then go in and paint your bottom of the cookie. So your light base color, again, just the same thing as every other time, and add the dark color to the edge for shading. So I'm going to go back into the purple because this one is totally dry now, and take the light purple color and start doing that little spotting motion we were doing earlier with the brush tip. The color looks a lot different, but it's just because it's wet and the other purple is dry. Watercolor really dries in a way that kind of surprises you with how it turns out, and that's one of the things I really love about it. It looks different than when you're painting with it. It takes a lot of patience, but the outcome is really worth it. And then we need to wait for everything to dry before we can touch anything else here. So fan it, blow dry, just wait a little bit. Make sure your layers are dry. You don't want to ruin any of the hard work you've done already. And then once you're certain it's dry, go in with your darker color and do those darker spots over top to create that textured look. There we go. And while we've been working on this purple one, the pink one had a good amount of time to dry. So now we can grab our pink base color. So I'll show you what it looks like to do that straight line here. Because you could also do this if you don't want to go through the effort of doing the jabbing every time. But I kind of prefer the other way better because I feel it gives a lot more depth. And then just give that time to dry so that we can go in with the darker detail color, and that's going to be the last step. And there you have it. Painting is complete. So I hope you enjoyed following along and liked the picture that you created. Hope to see you for the next tutorial.